Shalom.
See your head too. Bring it down. Shalom. Adjust the camera.
Hold on, everybody.
I like what that brother said I said when you see the real Christ with the white woolly hair and the red eyes and the black skin, that's us. That's all. No, it's too low. Just there you go. Right. Good, Josh. Yeah, good. Perfect.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
This is Waco Israel Ministries. We do thank and praise the Most High, Ahayah, and His Son Yashayah, for another opportunity to be on the Sabbath in front of you. Today. So, we are going to bring a lesson tonight concerning the understanding the state of black, so-called black culture here in America, because there is a great misunderstanding when it comes to these issues, and a lot of people really don't understand understand the issues from a realistic point of view. And I'll say this: we're going to be sharing some information from the Willie Lynch letter. And why is this information pertinent or important to understand? Understanding how a system of a country was originally set up helps you understand, not to make excuse for, but to understand the problems that face a people in a land that is not theirs originally.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay, it's not theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Just to use these, build their empire for them. So it would make sense that we see the children of Israel living on the bottom by the majority. I'm not talking about the small 1% that Esau have put in his house,
mm-hmm.
to make them feel, give them a sense of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
So we're going to go into this in a minute. I want to lay a little foundation. The Bible says to deal with things honestly and to be truthful with all men. Right?
Come on. That's right.
The Bible says to speak the truth in love.
That's right. In understanding.
Not just to speak in love, but speak truth in love.
That's right.
Or truth to power.
Speak the truth in love. That's right. When you care about somebody, right, you tell them the truth.
That shows you, but to tell the truth, you must know or understand or have knowledge of reality to tell truth. You
Yes.
can't just have a skewed view of reality and view that as truth when you really don't understand point A or B.
Right. An Afro-American brother said to me, I have knowledge and I have truth. Yeah, but if you have knowledge and truth, make sure it's the real truth. Everybody has some truth. But if it's not the truth that's going to set your people free, then it's not real truth.
Now, I'll say this. For those of you who may be a Caucasian, you really have no understanding of the system you live in and how it genders to empower you. You have no idea really of how you are at an advantage because you're simply white. You have all the advantages in the world, in this nation, in this nation we live in, after it was stolen by Europeans to set up their satanic headquarters here in the West, in the Western Hemisphere, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is to help you, the so-called Caucasians, understand, so-called white people, understand the truth of why the black community is in the condition it is, as well as with the Bible, but from a historical, factual reality base. This was a program that was installed during slavery to keep the majority of them beneath the system and lift up a few that they could govern to be icons or images for the poor blacks to look up to. That's talking about your Oprahs, your LeBron Jameses, your entertainers, your athletes. And that's not slant against being athletic or being entertaining.
But there's a hidden agenda behind everything.
And here's another little tidbit of information. In the white community, an entertainer or a sports athlete would never be considered to be a leader or someone to be looked up to for wisdom. Right?
Yep.
You don't see white people running after Tom Brady for wisdom or understanding. So why would it be that in the black community it seems like rappers and athletes are somehow imaged or put up as some kind of totem pole? Because it was set up that way, because during slavery a house Negro would always be the envy of the plantation. So the master would take a slave or slaves, mainly a slave or two, out of the field to be close to him. And yet that slave was still a servant or a slave, but due to the fact he wasn't under the immediate lash of the overseer and he wasn't being whipped or starved to death, he still had to sleep under this, under the bed or in the attic in the master's house, in master's house. But all intents and purposes, he's still a slave. But the difference is, because of the slightly better treatment he received, he began to believe he was superior to his brothers and sisters suffering doing in the field. So basically, because he was fed better, he was given medicine, he was taken care of. If he got sick, the master took care of him. And he didn't receive that type of treatment if he was a regular field hand. Frankly, it would have really mattered if he died. Not that it did, because he could just be replaced by someone else.
Mhm.
So what is that to say? That's to say because, and they were looked at as sellouts by the other slaves, because they
just to get another notch in favor with the master. Anything that they would do wrong, he would go to them.
Yeah. So they would basically be used to govern the slave, the field slaves for the master. So they were viewed as sellouts by the other slaves on the plantation, because that's what they were. They were essentially turned into sellouts because they were literally working for the master.
That's right.
So why is that now? Why is that important to understand? Because when you understand that, white people would never see a comedian or an athlete as a leader in their community. Why? Because frankly, white people in America have all the advantages given to them. So we don't need someone that's basically for a better sense of words, an amusement to lead you. Right? You don't, if you are aware, for example, how can I say this? You don't need someone who's going to make you laugh to lead you. Because you can mold reality as a white person in America. You can be anything the sky is the limit. But if you are black in America, the limit is the sky. In other words, you have to be lifted up as a black person by other people.
But they'll always
so-called black
control.
Let me rephrase that. As a so-called black people, you have to be lifted up by others to get position. If you're white in America, you can just get a position because you're white. Your race basically, if you're white, your race makes you able to do anything. If you're black, I mean, your race pretty much is a burden. So and how is that? Look at it like this, and we'll go into the scriptures in a second. So what was all that to say? When you look at these comedians and these athletes and these wealthy black people, what are they? They are essentially house slaves. They manage and control the poor, the 99% of blacks who have nothing and are beneath the system to keep them beneath it. What are your governors, your black governors, senators, and congressmen? The same thing. Set up over your communities to keep your communities below means. That's why you can have a black person in Congress, or a black governor, or a black congressman in a black community, and nothing changes, because they're not set up to change the community. They're set up just to manage, be a overseer, just to oversee the destruction of their own people. And they're paid handsomely to do it.
This is true.
Let's go to the Bible. I want to start in the Apocrypha first.
Okay. Where, John?
Let's go to Judith.
Judith? Okay.
5:19.
5:19.
If you haven't
That's before Barak, right? Or,
gotten the Apocrypha yet, you can download it.
I think it's before
Barak.
Esther.
Before Esther.
Behind you said it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the beginning of the book, is it? No. Oh, Judith, I got
You
it.
can download it at your app store. Just go to your app store on your phone and download 1611 KJV Bible, and you'll have the Apocrypha.
5 where, Josh? 5 what?
5:20, 5:19 and 20.
All right. So the Apocrypha Judith, which is the word, it's the inspired word of the Most High, chapter 5, starting at 19 and then 20. Just say when you have it, Barry. It's you got it, honey? You got it now? You have it? Okay. Ready? But now are they returned to their God, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate.
Read.
Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people.
So the nations understand, brothers, and the people that rule the earth understand, if they can keep a certain people, the Israelites, in a state of error or transgressing the law or sin. Read.
If there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin.
Let us do what? Let us consider, meaning let us take careful examination. Let us carefully examine how they fall, so we can use it against them. So eventually, down through the centuries, there will come a kingdom called the United States, and we can pass a plan down through Satan through the centuries, so they can have the same program of how to destroy God's people. Read.
Let us consider that this shall be their ruin.
So let us consider that the more sin and immorality that we push
On them. That's
through the black community, we can not only make them see that black people have a low view of themselves. We can cause other people to look down on them, because we have a society that we control that propagates a negative image of the children of Israel.
This is deep. But if there be no iniquity in their nation.
In their what?
In their nation.
If there be no iniquity or sin in their what?
Nation.
So the Gentiles, right? The Gentiles understand that you are a nation.
That's right.
Let me say that again. The Gentiles understand you are a nation of people. You're not separate people. You are a nation. So-called Negroes, African Americans, Jamaicans, Hispanics. You are the Israelites, according to the Bible.
Come on.
I'll say that again. You are the Israelites. And the Gentile nations, the governments of these world, understand you are a set-apart people unto your God, the Most High, the Creator.
That's right.
Okay? So that is why the conditions that are upon your people seem unescapable, because the Most High has put these conditions in place so only He can deliver you out of them.
Wow, that's good, Josh.
That's why Moses said in Deuteronomy 28 that no man shall deliver you or buy you. In other words, once
He's
you
trying to
go
help you.
once you go into slavery again with ships, the transatlantic slave trade, no one man can deliver you out of this.
Wow.
And we know that to be true, right?
That's right.
Martin tried to deliver them. Malcolm did.
Everybody tried.
Right? And they all were all cut down.
Let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them.
So if there's no sin in the nation of Israel, don't deal with them. Don't touch these people, because if you do, their God will touch you, will deal with you.
Yeah. And their God be for them.
Read.
And we become a reproach, watch this, before all the world.
So stop.
Wow. You could read next one. Now, did you get that? Did you get what Josh was saying? Do you understand how this nation is set up? America does not own itself. The government has nothing to do with this place. They're run by the bankers of the world, the Jews, who tell them what to do. And they know about this. You don't think they know about
Jewish.
Yeah. They're Jewish. They're not Jewish.
They're
Edomites and they're Satanists.
So before we go,
but their time is coming to an end.
I want to stay in the Apocrypha. Let's go to Second Ezra 6.
Okay.
Second Ezra 6. I'm gonna 6, 8, and 9.
Ezra is after Ecclesiastes, right? Yeah. No. Is he talking before?
Depending on which way you go.
Well, I passed it the other way. So. Is it before Wisdom of Solomon?
Yeah, way before.
Oh.
It's before.
I got it. Yeah. Ezra where, Josh?
6, 8, and 9.
Second Ezra 6.
6, 8, 9. We don't need anybody talking out. Ezra 6, 8, and 9. Thank you. 6. Tony, you can read it sometime, whatever you want to.
Read, Dad.
Wait, 6, 8, and 9. Hold on, let me get it. 8 and 9? All right, hold on. 6, 7, 8. Ready, everybody? Tony, everybody ready? And he said unto me, from Abraham and Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world.
So what does this mean? Who is ruling right now? Europeans. Who is Esau? The father of the European. So the white man would be the end kingdom of the earth. Just like Rome was the end of the ancient European world.
For Esau is the end of the world. In other words, a Gentile, really. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Keep reading.
So, no.
Oh, okay, stop. So did you hear that? So the world powers are ruling now, but they'll be destroyed. And then when Christ comes, the Black Christ comes to rule and set up his kingdom, they'll be finished. It'll be all over. And who's ever out there listening, you're a Hebrew or you're a tribe member, it's time to get right with the Most High. It's time. So, you don't have much time left.
I want to ask my dad to read a couple pages out of this.
All right.
Then we'll go into Deuteronomy 28.
Okay. Let's go there now. Deuteronomy 28. All right.
In the beginning, Josh?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. We're going to read first. Hold on. What do you want me to start, Josh? On the here, page 18 or 19. Understanding?
So right there.
Before the breaking process, we had to be alert and on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early infant slave molding process. Modeling and molding. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age.
So basically, what that mean, what Willie Lynch is explaining is, once you take the male image and you break the male image of the Negro, you leave the woman in a frozen state of psychological fear. Within this state, she will move her dependency from the man to the slave master. And she will raise her children, her male children, to be emotional and weak, but strong physically. Why? Because the master needs the body to serve him. And she will raise her children, her female children, to be psychologically independent, or don't think they need a man to depend on. Why? Because they saw their father, an example, say a woman had 2 daughters. They would see her father incapable of stopping the slave master from raping the mother or even them.
Mm.
So how could they think of the black man as something who they could depend on? Because they couldn't see him as a protector.
Wow.
So this goes to explain why a lot of black women, not all, some, would rather be on welfare than have a man, or more specifically, a black man, to take care of them, because they see the system or the white man's government as more reliable.
She knows, don't she, Josh? By the time I don't want to say nigger. By the time a Negro boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in.
He is
soundly broken in.
So by the time the Negro or the Israelite male reaches about 18 or manhood, he is soundly broken.
Wow.
16 to 8, so 18 years of training in our system, in our education system,
sports, everything,
our sports system, our music culture. He is completely destroyed by 18 years old, by 16, basically a young man, a teenager. So by the time he's a teenager, this young man is completely ruined.
Wow.
Unless he's woken up by the Most High.
Yes, yes, sir.
And redeemed through Christ.
And he knows
his mind, everything is ruined.
Wow.
His mind is wrecked. He's psychologically backwards. He doesn't know how to be a man. Read.
Broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work, and the reproduction.
Sound and efficient what?
Work.
Working for who? For
the American government.
For the system.
The system.
For the American engine.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So the way we guarantee our economy always works is we keep the system of instability in the black and Latino homes in condition in place, so they will fill the jails, which will leave the women unprotected. So then we can raise their children for them.
Wow.
We can teach their women not to need a
That's
man,
just what's going
and
on.
we can teach their men to be effeminate, and end up some of them turning homosexual.
And sufficient.
Wait.
No, go ahead.
Sufficient work, not for themselves or their people, but for us. So
Surety, that's
break
right.
the child young, and he will always serve.
Mhm.
Wow,
Wow,
that's deep, isn't it?
it is. And you know what? And a brother told me that this letter's a lie. I said, no, it's not.
Because you don't see it.
That's
You don't
right.
see how it's working in your
No
people.
one's broke it down to you. And the reproduction of a unit of good labor force.
Good what?
Labor force.
So they had no intention.
Night and day, you're working.
The slave master had no intention for you ever to stop being his servant.
That's right.
So he just had to recreate the plantation.
That's right.
So what do they call it? They call them Walmart today. They call them Target. They call them Lowe's. They call them Home Depot. They call them
Burger King,
McDonald's, Olive Garden.
Denny's.
Who owns all these places? The white people, right? Walton's, Walmart.
Come on.
I think the malls are all owned by most likely Jewish people. And that's not, again, we don't say this to attack anybody. We're just showing you the system.
That's right.
Who owns the
system works?
Who owns the magazine businesses? Jewish people, white Jewish people. Who owns the at the top? Jewish people.
The movie theaters too.
Everything.
Exactly.
All of it.
It's all a system set up against the people, brothers.
Against the tribes. So
we're here to help, especially you white people, understand. Your friends are not making this up. Now they may not fully understand why it's like that, but they are living it, so they can tell you what it's about. But without the understanding of the Most High, really, they can't really solve their own problem.
That's right.
That's why we're here. So don't have a biased opinion about the media, what the media, these people are drug dealers, whores, no.
These are not. And many times I've told them this, that you're kings and queens, but you don't know it because of what the American government has done. Continually, through the breaking of uncivilized, savage Negroes, by throwing the Negro female savage into a frozen psychological state of independency.
So they made sure on the plantation to pay very close attention to the man and the woman, the married unit. Because God, what did God do? He set up Adam and Eve.
Divide and conquer. That's right.
So without a unit of mom and dad, the family suffers. And that goes for anybody, but especially the Israelites.
That's right, the tribes. And by creating a submissive, frozen psychological state of independency, by killing the protective male image.
By doing what?
Killing the protective male image.
So once she does not see the king of Israel as her protector, who is she going to depend on?
Come on.
The massa.
The government, that's right.
Who is symbolized by the government.
That's right. And by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the Negro male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis.
So it will
forever.
keep reproducing.
It's going to keep doing.
Unless the Israelites wake up.
And they're waking up now. They're waking up. That's right.
Read.
All right. The positions of the male and female savages, we show what we mean by example. Take the case of the two economic slave units and examine them closely. The Negro marriage unit. We breed 2 Negro males with 2 Negro females. Then we make the Negro males take the Negro males away from them and keep them moving and working. Say the Negro female bears a Negro female and the other bears a a Negro male,
Mm-hmm.
both.
Now listen to how they set. Now why do they pay so much minute attention to a family? Because okay, let's make it so it's very easy to understand. Dad,
Yeah,
where do children get their reality of life from? Their parents.
sure, the father and the mother.
So if they have a distorted view of the father, that will make the children have a distorted view of men.
Wow.
Or, okay, so
Because that light's behind Tony. He's blaring you out. Okay, good.
so for example, if
Put that
you
back to
if you as a
the
male
light.
mistreat a woman as a father, that's gonna give
There you go.
your parents or your children a negative view of the male image,
That's right. That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And that will make the daughters not love their father or not want to associate with men.
Wow.
Read.
Will raise their offspring into reverse positions.
So now they will raise their children with opposite gender roles,
Wow.
not opposite physical roles, psychological roles.
Wow. Into reverse positions. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, and negotiate her at will. The one with the
So in
Negro,
other words, we will make the Negro woman with the Negro daughter will raise her female child to depend on and love our system, and to usually reject her own. Not okay. Read.
and negotiate her at will. The one with the Negro male offspring, she, being frozen with a subconscious fear for her life, will raise him to be mentally dependent. Weak, but physically strong.
Mentally what? Dependent
Weak.
And weak.
But physically strong.
Okay, so we're gonna make a system where we have a bunch of children walking around as men, Negro Israelite men walking around as children.
Oh, that's why they're so mature already. Wow.
Now watch this. What does it mean to be psychologically weak or mentally weak but physically strong? Based on the fact that the fear of the woman for the child, the male child, is so strong, and she doesn't want to see what happened to her son happened to her, that happened to the father happened to her son. She will train the child to be effeminate and be submissive under a woman. In other words, she will teach that child to be soft, in a sense. Not to be homosexual,
but feminine.
But to deal with reality through their emotions and their feelings.
That's right.
Rather through their logic.
In truth.
But physically strong. Why? Because the master needs the slave body to build the system.
Wow. In other words, body over mind.
Uh-huh.
Now, in a few years, when these two offspring become fertile for early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle.
Uh-huh.
That is good.
Read.
Sound and long-range, comprehensive planning. Long range since the 15th, 16th century.
We'll just read this next page and we're going to Deuteronomy.
Right. Warning.
So long range system. So even after they're off a plantation, if this line of philosophy is not corrected somehow, it will always work.
Wow.
So we can always count on this certain dysfunction, if you won't, or complete dysfunction in the black family. Not in not all cases, but in some cases, but not in all. Read.
Warning: possible interloping negatives. Earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the Negro in their wild or natural state. We talked out the principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring for orderly future planning.
Read.
Then more recently, we stated that by reversing the positions of the male and the female savage, we had created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless phenomenon occurred and reshifted the positions of the male and the female savages.
Read.
Now that's what's happening now. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring, for they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. If it can touch some substantial original historical base.
Some substantial original historical
base.
So we can guarantee this system will never change if we can make sure we can keep their original history or knowledge of self away from them.
That's right, being lied to. And they advise us that the best way to deal with this phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history.
To do what?
Shave off the brute's mental history.
His mental history, or his knowledge of his ancestors. So we can make sure all the dysfunction will happen in the black community if we make ways where we can keep them away from the knowledge of themselves, the true knowledge, not the knowledge we tell them, but the truth of what the Bible says.
Come on.
Of who they really are, the Israelites.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't finish. Okay.
It's all right.
Okay. Let me get some water. Here, you can start.
Deuteronomy 28:1.
Okay.
Mom?
Okay, Deuteronomy 28:1.
Read.
And it shall come to pass
if thou
shalt hearken diligently unto and if it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Most High power, thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I commanded thee this day.
Read.
That the Most High power will set thee on high.
Below.
On high.
Equal.
On high.
Mm-hmm.
Above all nations of the earth.
All right, stop. So you hear what Mary just read? You're not equal. You're not equal with any white person on this earth. You're above, but you don't know it because you've been robbed. You've been socially engineered by the system to take away your identity.
So we understand the Most High said that the Israelites are above all people.
Above.
Not equal.
Not equal.
Above all people. Now, let's go.
Explain what the Constitution really says when it says create what?
Let's go to verse.
What a lie in the Constitution. I can't believe
that. Let's go to verse 47, 46.
All right. Yeah, you read that, 47.
47. 46.
Hold on.
Wait, before you do that, go to, no, I want 44, 43 and 44.
Thy stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee
Very high.
and thou shalt come down very low.
So,
So what does that mean?
this means that the Gentile nations or governments that rule you in this final captivity in America will set up a system where they will always control the top. They will always be at the top. In other words, they control everything in reality. And who is that they? The so-called Jewish people. And the Jewish people, the elite Jewish people or so-called elite Jewish people are at the top of everything. The music industry, the clothing industry, the radio, the TV.
Everything.
Everything.
Moreover, all these curses.
No, he shall lend to thee.
Verse 44.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the lender.
The head.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
All right.
So basically what we just read, because he has set up a system that he controls from the top, anyone that he doesn't want really at the top, he will be the head of them. And the like a donkey, like an animal, you have a head who leads and a tail who comes from behind. So that means the Israelites in their captivity land will always be the second place. Never the first, but the second. Okay? Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hast hearkened not to the voice of the Most High thy God, to keep his commandments.
That's why.
To keep his commandments.
Now, what's going on in religious churches? You're not keeping his commandments.
So
and you're breaking his laws.
So that's and that's
is the problem.
See, a slave, a servant can't be taught that he has commandments.
And he's a king. You can't tell a slave he's a king.
From a God that gave them commandments.
That's
because you have to give him laws.
That's right.
So you have to teach that servant or that slave during a time of slavery that he is not under God's law, or the law is done away with, or don't really pay that much attention to the Old Testament. Just pay attention to the New Testament.
Oh yeah.
And statutes which
we could show you the laws in the New Testament
commanded thee.
Just as much.
And these shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder. So what does a sign mean? A sign is something that points to something. So if you want to know who the Israelites are and how to find who they are and what race they are, you simply read Deuteronomy 28 and ask yourself,
that's right.
What people does this seem to match or seem to be, right? So, verse 48. Therefore, thou shalt serve thine enemies. Read that.
Wait, where's 48?
Just therefore, thou shalt.
Wait. Yeah. I gotta find it. Hold on. 49. Already. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
So what people have to go to a certain people for their clothes, their food, their water, their education, their everything?
To the white
the Negroes.
They all have to go. All these
so the
guys,
Negroes have to serve, and the Israelites in this land have to serve even to be a great athlete in sports, you have to start off in school, playing for years, not making no money.
Wow.
Right? As a child athlete, getting hurt. Think about it. Doing all that stuff for free.
And he shall put a yoke. Now, how'd you
Now,
how'd you come
They
to
get
America?
over this.
Go ahead.
You know how they get over on this? They take a couple of you,
Mhm.
your athletes, and they put them in the Hall of
Position,
Fame. Or
right, positions. They position them.
they position in the Hall of Fame.
Make you
or
feel wanted. Like
Master just gives them a pat on the back
Right.
and says, "Thank you for being a good servant."
Yep.
A good pickaninny.
Folks, if you open your eyes and you're listening, sports is the same way. It's just a slave trade. Some ball players here.
Thank you for being.
Dallas just got Cooper, and the other ball players had to leave. The other ball players left. The other ones come. It's a slave trade. That's all it is. It's a modern day slave trade. Like Josh said earlier, it's not like in the 15th, 16th century, but it's a new form.
They morphed. They've changed.
They modified it.
Satan always changes the way
Right.
he gets you. He hooks you.
That's right.
Different strokes for different folks.
Mm-hmm. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Continue.
Half of you didn't even make it, and they threw you in the ocean.
Read.
The Most High shall bring a nation against thee from far, America, from the end of the earth, as swift as the American eagle flying. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Go to verse 64.
Because when you came here, you were Hebrew, and you tried to speak to these foreigners that came, and they knew your language because they had interpreters.
Verse 64.
All right, hold
We'll
on.
close
64.
after we read a couple more.
All right,
Read.
it's right there, Mary.
64.
And the Most High shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth. Look at that. The earth is flat. Even unto the other end. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Wood and stone.
Wood, the cross, the wooden demonic Christian cross, and stone, the Mecca stone.
Read.
Okay, Larry, 65.
65. And among these nations.
So whatever nation that you're under captivity to, read.
Shall thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
You have no rest in America. You're working day and night.
In other words, you will have no real sense of belonging.
Right, that's what that means. Too.
No,
Not just physical work.
You'll
that's
sleep
right.
at night and all that, but inside of you, you will never really feel at home.
That's right.
But the Most High shall give thee their
again.
Give thee their trembling heart.
Start. What do you mean there? In America, you're going to have a trembling heart.
In other words,
I've met hundreds of you, that are just like that. I'll talk to you, and it's not that you're afraid of us. You're not afraid of anyone, but you're trembling. Yeah, I can sense it. You got a trembling spirit.
In other words, you have a sense of really you don't belong in America. You don't belong here.
That's right, because it's not your nation.
You're
greater than America. Go ahead, man.
And failing of eyes and sorrow of heart. Heart.
Read.
And sorrow of mind.
Read.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Meaning, what does this mean?
Wow.
Your families will be disordered, not in all cases, in some cases.
That's right.
Race on race violence.
Hoes, gangbang, prison.
Gangbanging.
You don't belong there.
Drugs.
Accidental shooting.
You're the greatest people in the world.
Police.
Yeah. Thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night. Wait, stop. A brother in the gym told me. You know what he told me? He went to that emergency on 103rd just to go get medicine for his family, and two police cars stopped him for no reason and searched his car. And shall have none assurance of thy life.
Read.
In the morning thou shalt say, would Ahayah, it were evening. Gee, I wish this day would pass. And at evening thou shalt say, would Ahayah it were morning, for the fear of thine heart.
So in other words, because your enemies have set up your communities to be dysfunctional, you will never really be at peace in your own communities, really. Because Esau has set it up to where he can manage you even when you're physically not in a chain on a plantation.
Wow.
Read.
For the fear of thine heart, mind, or spirit, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Get me finished, Mike.
So the Most High said through the prophet Moses, the final captivity of the Israelites in the last days.
And it's here. It's 400 years now. It's coming to a close. You came here.
You will go into slavery or
America
bondage.
is Egypt. It's bondage. Come on.
By the way, whereof I
spake
unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Your what?
Enemies.
Friends.
Your what?
Enemies.
America loves you.
Enemies.
So bondmen
and
bondwomen. Okay.
And no man shall buy you.
In other words, buy means that they won't really, reach out and try to help you. So some of you that are new listening, you might be saying tonight, I really don't agree with this because I just don't see that.
So
you know why you don't see it? You know why you don't see it? Because it was never broken down to you to show you what America is really about. Until you get on your knees and ask the Most High to forgive you to being in this religion that lied to you for all these years, you're not coming out. You're not going to know. You're not going to understand. This understanding is not for everybody, right, Tony? It's not for everybody.
No.
But we're trying to reach out to the public, and we have a great following, and thousands and thousands are listening to us now, and they're starting to realize. And not just our ministry, we're small. I mean, this GOCC, they're reaching the world. And an old brother Ricard has told us that the Christian church foundations are trembling. They're shaking now because they're being exposed. Look at the Word of Faith teachers. They're dying one by one. Copeland's next. Oh, yeah, Jesse DuPlan's going to come right behind them. These people, even Jakes, Cirillo, Dalla, too, all of them, and Vincini, Creflo Dollar, all of them, a TBN, they're all going to go. Every one of them is going to be dealt with by the lies that they have told their people. Even the Baptist church, the white Baptist church, is going to answer too. You cannot break his laws. Don't think you're going to get away with breaking his laws and his Sabbath. You're not going to get away with it. Yeah. You got to answer for breaking his laws. That's why you need to repent and come back to him. Come back to your power. It's not in Christianity. There's no Jesus. There's no white Jesus. It's a made-up God. And Christ is not God. That's why they call him God. They want you to think he's God. They want you to stay delusional. They want you to stay docile.
So, I want to see some.
Josh? Are we going to read something else?
No, that's it.
So, just a fact.
Josh can we can listen.
So the here I want to break something down right fast. So,
Go ahead, Josh.
So when you read in I think it's Exodus 20 verse 1, where it talks about the Most High bringing the children out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So Egypt is also
a state of bondage,
or is a house of slavery.
That's right. Come on.
So when you see in Deuteronomy 28:68, the Most High bringing the children of Israel into Egypt or into bondage again with ships, that's how you understand that to be the transatlantic slave trade, because how did the Negroes come to America?
That rice tomorrow.
The southern.
On Monday, right?
Atham.
Yeah, make the rice.
How did the children of Israel, at least the 11, Benjamin, Levi, and Judah come here? They came here on slave ships, right? You read about that in Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Native Americans were also shipped overseas to Europe on slave ships.
Yeah, how do you think you think these American Indians, the tribe of Gad, that's where they came from? You think they grew in trees? Of course they were the first people here, but they didn't grow in trees. They came on a ship. Oshia, king of Syria, right? Sent who? Malachi, you say his name? Shalmaneser. Took them across the waves, through the isles, through the waterways, up through Central America, South America, up into the Americas and Canada. That's how the Indians got here. Your so-called Indians. They're not Indians. They're the tribe of Gad and Reuben. Watch, Tony. No, it's not right. Don't drop the Bible, the dictionary. You break it.
Drop stuff anyway.
All right. So put it somewhere where put it on this side.
It's better this way.
Be careful because I like bringing that out and showing people. So it's awesome. It's just awesome to have this truth and to be blessed to share it. You know, with thousands now are listening, and we're really in your spirit to send donations to us. Please do so. No, we thank you for it.
So we do understand that the Most High has put conditions on his people that nobody that no physical person can deliver them out of. So that is why Christ is returning eventually to redeem or to buy back his people out of their final captivity.
This is the last captivity. You're in the last chance now to get right. It's the last chance. It's the last stand. It's like the OK Corral. You don't get right now, you're going to get shot down.
So be it.
So be it. Shalom.